Hey, Blazor fans, how are you guys doing? I think Fritz is about ready to wrap up his show, so maybe we'll see some folks join us here shortly. I know the auto hosting does have some sort of goofiness to it, DevMan. I have to ask some of my fellow Twitch streamers what their experience with that is and see if there's something I need to do to help fix that. Speaking of fixing things, I need to get my camera focused here. You don't need to see my messy office. So we'll get this out of your guys' way. We'll zoom in on my mug here a little bit more. Gotta straighten up the old hat, right guys? And ladies, whoever's out there watching. That's much better. So hopefully everybody's having a good week. I've got some news bits for you here. We'll get started on those in just a sec. Let me just double check the stats here. We've got some people rolling in now. We can start talking about some things. Let me get the good old screen out of the way. There's Goran. Hey, hi, Goran. How's it going, man? So we were chatting in another chat room. I don't remember whose channel it was. Maybe it was Jeff's stream, but we were talking about OrDev. I'm going to be out there in Sweden later this year, so it'll be a good time out there. You said you were coming. You'll have to show me where to get the good eats and coffee and whatnot in the area. It looks like a good show. I'm hitting that right after DevReach in Sofia, Bulgaria, so that'll be my little European tour for the year. So I get to go out there. We got some stuff coming up this week. Let me get switched over to some news. Get my face over to the side here so we can show my browser window is incorrect. Uh-oh. I think I have a scaling issue. Let me see how my other screen looks here. And I indeed have a scaling issue. Give me one sec. Let me see if I can fix this up. My settings got jerked around here from doing some just regular old work. Let's get this fixed up. You'd think I'd know how to prepare better than this. No, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, this is terrible. Got to see how the sausage is made here, folks. Sorry about this. All right, Windows, go ahead, keep those changes. That's not what I clicked on, though. Come on, play with me now. I need 1080p. Where are you at? 1920 by 1080. There we go, that should fix it. Now all of my UI bits will probably be exploded where they don't belong, so let's try this again. Browser. Get this up. Let me close some things I'm not using here. There we go. No, it is still incorrect. Oh no, I hope I don't have to reboot my stream for this. Oh wait, you know what it is? I picked the wrong display. This does not make good for a good show. Sorry. 1920 by 1080. Thank you. There we go. Let's keep those changes. Now we're fixed. Good old OBS. I'll blame you, even though it's my fault. Right, guys? All right. So now we can have a proper show. Yeah. I know I hate when I have to do regular work too, but these are the things we have to do. You know, gotta feed them kids and stuff. Gotta keep food on the table. Good old regular work. Let's see. We've got .NET Conf coming up, everybody. .NET Conf is coming. It is just 2 days. I love the counter. 2 days, 23 hours, and 49 minutes. We've got it down to the minute here. It is going to be great. We are expecting the release of server-side Blazor and ASP.NET Core 3.0. So that's something to look forward to next week. And I actually have a piece of this wonderful show on Wednesday at 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. I have a session on all things Razor, so make sure you check that out. Lots of good people, lots of friends of mine have sessions as well. I did want to point out Progress Telerik is sponsoring .NET Conf, and there are many other wonderful sponsors sponsoring the show. There will be giveaways and prizes. Here we go. This is the link I was looking for. Win prizes. So make sure you keep an eye on the virtual attendee party and hit up the Twitch Visual Studio channel. If you're not following the Twitch Visual Studio channel already, you should be. So shame on you for not doing that. Get on there. Follow that guy. That is the official Microsoft channel that they broadcast on for Twitch, and there will be all sorts of prizes being given away by lots of wonderful sponsors. So don't forget to, quote, participate in the technical treasure hunt and win some free things. If you guys win something, chime in the chat room next week. Let me know what you won. Love to hear about it. So make sure you watch .NET Conf next week. Play with the attendee party stuff. Be good times. Again, I've got a slot on Wednesday, so make sure you check that out. I've got some articles here. One of them is by Steve Sanderson. Steve is talking about the file upload experience with Blazor, and he kind of runs us through all the things that we need to do. Mr. Magoo, you didn't miss the start. We just got started. What you missed is me fiddling around with screen resolutions because I broke things while I was not airing a show last week. So you didn't miss anything but my own embarrassment. We've got a blog by Steve Sanderson about file uploads. So if you've done this before, then you'll know that if you use an input component like this, let's see. Oh, this is the NuGet package. If you just use a standard input and try to do a file, you will get the file name, and that's just a string, and you can't do a whole lot with that. So Steve's got an outline of how to do proper file uploads with Blazor in this really detailed blog post, and talks about creating a input file and using the JavaScript to do this. And it's a good read, especially if you need some file uploads in your app. There's also some NuGet packages that are already out there that get this done. He's actually listed those in the notes as well. So if you need some file inputs, there you go. Good read by Steve. Chris Sante's got wonderful blog posts. They're always being published here every week or so. And both him and Michael Washington, they both have excellent blogs, by the way. They both tackled the same topic this week. So owning component scope, or owning component base. Sorry, owning component base is a special component base that deals with service scopes. And they both talk about how they're used, or how it's used to help dispose of service objects and things. So these are both very excellent reads, and they both have different information about the same topic. So make sure you give these both a look, and you'll get a lot of very useful information in here about using Entity Framework with components and how you should properly dispose of those resources. So Chris, Michael, wonderful job this week. Get a lot of stuff here that I know I can learn from. I need to implement this owning component base with my Blazport application, and something we might do on the show either later this month or later today, depending on how far we get along with what I plan to work on today. But this is a new component base object that came with the last release of Blazor. So that may be why you haven't heard of it. And it's also a reason why these guys both decided to tackle that same topic, because it's brand new stuff and they're right on top of those hot bits. Speaking of hot bits, the Telerik UI for Blazor 2.0 just shipped this week, and we're getting ready for our compatibility release next week as well. So there won't be any new components in that release, but we will bump Rev up to be compatible with 3.0 next week. That should happen during .NET Conf. So we are on top of that. And with this release, we've got some new components in here, release new features. One of the big ones is a hierarchical grid. So this is really nice. We actually have the ability to click these expanding buttons here and drill into data. So we basically have a grid within a grid at this point. And the grid has the same type of features you'd expect from the parent grid. So we can do sorting and all those type of things in a hierarchy and get some real detailed view of our data. And each code example each example has the code that goes along with it. So you can see how to create this master detail view. And it's literally a grid component within a grid component, which is really nice because this allows us full control over how that second grid is displayed and what it contains and how it formats all of its data and everything. So really good stuff here. I know that's a feature that people were looking forward to. I can switch screens. We want a bigger view of this guy. Let's see here. This is my standard like news feed here. This is my coding screen. Maybe you can see a little better on the. I zoomed in on those other ones. Hopefully you got to see those well. But we've got the full code, source code down here with our grid component within a template. So we've got a detail template, so it's a grid within a grid, and it's a real nice UI here. Totally themable too. So we can switch over to like a material theme or a bootstrap theme, real nice and easy, and that works right out of the box. Beautiful stuff. Alrighty, good deal. Thanks for the feedback, DevMan. Always appreciated. One of the other new bits in here is the time picker. That's another new one we've got in here. So if you got an app that you need to pick some times for, maybe you're setting a timer or whatnot, we've got that as well. So that could be super helpful. So all the date time stuff is about complete now. We're going to see some new stuff come with our release early next year. So we've got more components planned and exciting stuff on the way. So let's go ahead and get some Visual Studio up and running here. Last week we worked on some JavaScript interop, and this was, let me make sure I get the proper app up here. This was from last week's show. We were learning about the JS interop. And I know it's a scary word. I say JavaScript and people head for the hills. But we're gonna do a little bit more of it this week. Come on, Visual Studio, let me have it. Let me have it. It won't go to the other screen. There it is. There you are. Good old Visual Studio not wanting to play along today either. Let me get the. I'm going to be changing this layout here pretty soon as well. I think I like the overall layout of the Twitch stream here. I think the comments may be going away soon. So the comment section was originally there because people, when they post stuff in chat, then It doesn't get picked up on YouTube when I post videos, but Winder got giving me some feedback about my JavaScript usage. We're gonna open some JavaScript files in here, but I'm gonna try to make this whole screen bigger for you guys next time, and maybe we'll get a new layout here going pretty soon. All right, so let's get into the weeds here. We've got our test app from last week, and this is what we were trying to get accomplished. We're going to extend this a little further. I think I might move it out to another project that can be shared on GitHub, or maybe a NuGet package or something at a later date. Let's see how this pans out first. Not sure if it's a full utility yet or just a proof of concept. But the idea is we want to tap into the matchmedia functionality of the browser. And my alerts are extremely loud. Just turn those down. Hopefully that didn't get anybody else. I think it's tuned pretty good for the audience, but not me. So let's hope that, let's see who or what that was. Oh, thanks for the subscription, Bite Me. That subscription nearly knocked out my eardrums, but I definitely appreciate the sub. Oh, I love the Twitch alerts, but if you're not ready for them, sometimes they can be a bit loud. But thanks for that sub. Appreciate it, man. Nice to have you back in the audience. So this is the general idea is we can match a query string from CSS and see if that query string is being met at runtime. Goran, thanks for the subscription. 3 months. Really appreciate that. I'll have to bring you some Blazor swag to the Sweden event. I've got some special patches and whatnot that I can share with you. So this true and false that you see here is based on screen size. This happens at runtime. This is making a call through to JavaScript and back to do this. We've got a little round trip JS interop going on. Right now it's just kind of a proof of concept here. We have a watcher that looks for the window to resize. Yes, I have a Power Glove patch, so you can apply that to anything you'd like. I've got one on my laptop bag. Oh, hey, hang on, I'll show you. Swag is close enough nearby here. Let me pull up my preview so I can see what I'm looking at here. What you're all looking at. Oh wait, we'll do this. We'll go back on the big. Nope, yeah, that one. All right. So this right there is an iron-on patch that I have on my laptop bag. So these are totally cool, and I've got some of those that I had made up. And if I meet any of you in person, I will share one with you. They're pretty cool. You can stick them on hats and t-shirts and whatever you want. So let's see, where were we? I have a habit of getting off track, but for good reason. All right, love the Power Glove. We don't want Nintendo beating me up. So we've got this watch on resize function, which does exactly what it sounds like. I think naming this one went well. Speaking of naming things, I'm going to get off track again, watch. I'm going to say naming things is hard, isn't it? So we've got the naming things meme. Did that show? Oh, it did show. There we go. I love that. And it is October. So if you scroll down, you will see a naming things shirt is available. I'm not here to pitch swag, I promise. It's just there because I'd like to share these things and they're fun. So that is out there in the wild. All right, so we've got a function called resized. and it invokes a method on a .NET method, and it passes in the value from this matchmedia function. So this is a JavaScript API that's part of the browser that tells me whether or not it matched a media query. That media query, by the way, we pass in from .NET. I've got that logging out so we can see it. And then when the window is resized, this whole thing gets triggered. So what I'd like to do next is change the swatch on resize a little bit. Right now it is invoking a method called onresize, which then sends back a true-false value. But what I think I'd like to do is create a more detailed object to send back. And let's go ahead and start with that. So let's look at the page that invokes this real quick. And let's see here. We are on the, was it on the counter page I did this, or the index page? Yeah, it was on the index page. So this is how we invoke this whole thing. We say, give me a resize listener. And the resize listener needs a JavaScript runtime. And then we are going to await that listener. And when that listener fires, we will do said function. This is the media query we're testing. So what I'd like to have, and we can put this in a folder. Where's our matching? Oh, it's right on the root. Let's do a little organization here. Let's move this. Let's actually move this to a project. Let's do add new project, and then this needs to be. Actually, we need to do this from the command line. I hope we get a file new project experience for this pretty soon. Or is it? They changed it, didn't they? It's Razor class library now, isn't it? Isn't it? New project. And my custom theme is still messing with this. I fixed my custom theme, kind of. I kind of fixed it. I'm trying to get this theme ready for Visual Studio Marketplace. However, when I fix this error or this window here from being white, the new theme designer also blows out some of my custom colors in the editor, which isn't great. So it's something I'm working on very part-time. So hopefully we'll have that up soon. So I need a Razor class library. Razor class library. That's the one. So I think this is the correct way of doing it now. Goran is in agreement. So we'll call this resize listener. And we'll add that. So we'll move this guy out to a proper project. I don't need enabled Docker. I don't need support pages and views. Just get it created. Component.razor. Oh, look at that. We actually have a Razor component and an example and everything in here. And then, oh, they changed this. So www-root is now where all the fun stuff goes. So let's go ahead and take our test.js. We will cut that out and move it to, oops. Oh, I am fat fingering everything there. Holy cow. All right. www-root. Move that over there. I can kick out all of the example stuff. We don't need you anymore. You've done your purpose. All right. Imports.razor can stay, I believe. Component 1. We actually don't need a component. So you go away. Our interop is going to be Resize Listener JS. We will go ahead and move that, cut, paste, move it there. How did example interop get in here too? Yeah, we don't need that one. This was all of our trial stuff from last time. We don't need a helper anymore. We've gotten enough help from you. Get you out of the way. All right. So I'm done being mean to all of our placeholder stuff. Oh, maybe not. There's another example. We're done. We got this. We got this. Famous last words, right? Let's see. We've got our class. Let's change this namespace. We may rename that as well. It's getting a bit redundant, don't you think? And let's see here. Let's change this to I'm stuck. I'm just calling everything Resize Listener. I don't get why www root on a component project library. I think this replaces the old content folder that was here. I think. So this will probably get automatically injected here. I'm assuming that's what happens. So let's see what happens in a minute. Let's get this stuff moved over first. I know the naming is, I just named everything really terribly. Resize Listener, watch on Resize. Oh, this is really, yeah. So that function is still named the same. The file name doesn't matter because it's looking for this. So we're good there. All right. So I think we're good with that. I just broke my application though, because this is going to be looking for the old dependency, page, index. Yeah, that is busted for sure. We need to add a reference here. Add. Oop, dependencies. Add reference. Resize Listener. Okay. So get that fixed up, and now we can do import. We're using Resize Listener, and that fixes it. So now we've got our third-party dependency here. So we've moved it out into this file. Hopefully that does the trick. Let's give this a run. Let's see if it auto-imported the JS file. I don't know if that feature got removed, if it's still working. You could put stuff in the component project of a server client project. I think that would work fine, but I think a component, that didn't work. I thought that's what the Razor component library was supposed to help with, Gorn. What is the error, though? Let's see what our errors are. 404, test.js is not found. Oh, yeah, because it's not called test.js anymore. I knew that was going to come up somewhere. I just forgot where. This is a server-side project, so it's going to be in host. And that should go away. Let's see, is my app still running? It is. Let's see what resources came across. Console, let's clear you. Elements, console sources, framework, server.js. That is it, though. It didn't automatically import. Let's try head. I don't see my JavaScript file here. That was me, that I deleted. So a Razor component library didn't automatically inject that. I thought a Razor component library would automatically register the JavaScript interop that is inside of it, but apparently that is not the case. These things used to automatically resolve. So let me check. Let's do a little dig on the docs and double check this. So Razor, Blazor, preview 9. Let's see what's in the notes, the change log. I don't know. One of these changes, there was something to do with the component library. So something about Razor class libraries here. Let's see. Yeah, it might have been preview 8. This changed recently, one of these last few changes. So, yeah, here. So talk amongst yourselves while I dig into this for a second. So I know it's here. I just need to find it. I swear it's here. Razor class library template replaces, here we go. Here we go, guys. This is it, right here. Razor class library template replaces Blazor class library template. So let's dig into that. Templates renamed and simplified. Razor class library template replaces. I was supposed to check that button. That's the problem. That's the problem. I was supposed to check that box. I didn't. I said I don't need that, and I just went ahead and created things, and now I have problems. So let's do this one more time. Let's remove this. It has our code in it, so I don't want to delete it yet. Remove it. Let's go to a folder view. Come on, folder view. And we will rename it Resize Listener -old. Access denied. I must have it open. Close all documents. Old. Oh, come on. Are you serious right now? Something still has it locked up. Am I running the app? Is that what it is? I'm not running the app. So give me access then. Let's close. Close folder. Sure. Yeah, let's save it. Save it, close it. We'll go in. We should be able to open it back up now. Rename it. RTM. Read the manual. Let's open the folder. App. Resize Listener. Old. There we go. No errors that time. We will do add. New project. Let's try this again. Razor class library selected here. Next. Resize. I'm going to call it something different. Blazor Resize interop. We'll call it that. Put it in a library. Check the box this time. Hit OK. Create. Now we've got what? Areas? Features, pages. No, that's not right. I had the right one last time. That's not what I want. This is not... No. Bad. That's not what I want. That's for Razor views. Or Razor pages. I don't want a Razor pages template. Delete. Remove. Bye-bye. That's not what I wanted. So I had this right last time. Does it not automatically inject anymore is what I'm wondering. Add existing project. Oh Lord, where was it? Blazor app 14. I've got to reorganize this whole thing. Is just bad news. Boom. All right. So this folder used to be called content, and it would come over to your project automatically. Maybe I should have read this in detail. Razor class library is now set up for Razor component development by default. The Blazor class library template has been removed. Supports Blazor server. If you want a Razor, okay, cool. But then it doesn't tell me Razor components are case sensitive. It doesn't tell me anything about how the resources get delivered. Yikes. I wish Dan or Steve were in the chat room today. It should serve up the content, but you need to manually reference it in your head. Well, then what good is that? So what actually gets built out, though? Let's rebuild this. Let's see. Let's go dig into the guts. Bin, debug, net core app 3. Nothing is in here, so nothing's in there either. Let's put it on release for a minute. I want to see where it spits the stuff out. Rebuild. Is it moving that file anywhere? Bin, release, netcore app. Really? I'm not getting like a deployment or anything in this. Let's run this and see. Nope, it's not. That's why I'm not getting anything. Because it can't build. That's why I'm not getting an output. Dependencies again. I need to add that reference back. Okay. Now if I rebuild, I should get my assets. Rebuild. I don't know why I'm getting a flag here either. Projects, resize listener. What is... I don't know what the warning is. I don't see any warnings. Succeeded. I don't have any tests. All right. I closed my thing already too. Open the folder. It's served up from the original project during development. Thanks, Mr. Magoo. So let me double check that. Blazor app, bin, release, not core app. There we go. Where does it internalize it into a DLL somewhere? Because nothing, there used to be like an underscore framework folder that got ejected with this. Oh boy. Something has changed drastically. I'm not aware of. So let's do this. Let's run this. Let's see if I can ping that folder from my app. See if it actually resolves anything. Unless you publish. Oh. It used to be able to publish it by, or maybe I'm thinking of something else. Oh, what is this? What? What does this mean? I've never seen this in my life. Continue debugging, I guess. I don't know what the heck that was all about. All right, so it should be /content resize listener, and then my file was also resize listener.js. Yeah, it is there. It is there. Thank you, Mr. Magoo. You are magic. We'll throw a little hacker man up for Mr. Magoo. Thank you, Mr. Magoo, for being the problem solver today. Somehow this completely escaped me. Need to add some sounds to those emojis, or GIFs, whatever you want to call them. I call them GIFs. Boom, content, resize listener. Why is it putting a question mark in there? There we go. Now we should be able to run it, and it should actually have the file listening out. Then we can, what is this? You are running a release, oh, I'm running a release build. That explains it. That explains it. Yeah, makes total sense now. I should really slow down and read those error messages, right? Not doing myself any favors today. It's pronounced Skippy. There we go. All right. Mr. Magoo for the win, saving the day. That is a change that apparently I wasn't completely aware of. I knew kind of where to go with it, but I wasn't sure what they had done. This used to automatically appear. I don't know if they chose to keep that out. My suggestion was to the team was to have a flag that you could set on your app to allow things to automatically inject or not, because you may want to bundle the JavaScript yourself, but I don't know what steps they're taking to make tooling around it or whatnot, but apparently this is where we landed, that we're doing it manually right now. So now we have our thing here, and it's in another project, so we can focus less on our Blazor app and more on the tool. I want to add an object. I'm going to add a new item, and I just want a class, and I want it to be, let's see, let's look at the spec real quick and see what, if there is one. Let's see, window.resize. Let's see what we get back from it. So onresize comes back with window.innerHeight and inner width. Now, is there an actual, so that it doesn't appear that there's any browser API object related to this, so we have to kind of make up our own. So we're free to call this whatever we want. We can call it window browser window info. Let's call it size info. Or let's just call it size. I mean, info is kind of self-explanatory. It's going to be information of some type. So browser window size, we're going to get that back. Boom. Public class, browser window size. It's going to have a couple properties. Prop, tab. Let's get back. The size is going to come back as what? What type is best associated with this? Let's look at the code pen, see what kind of values come back here. We should be able to resize the window. And in their example, it is integer values. So those are integer values coming back. So int will be fine. So we'll get back a height and width. And media query matched. So we will do that. Oops, forgot to type it. So here's what we will get back. We're going to ask the browser what its height and width are, and we'll also ask it if it matched a media query. Those are things I would like to know about my browser size. Browser size. Sounds like an 80s exercise video. Something like that. Browser size. Brought to you by Blazor. All right. Let's run this function. We're going to copy a little bit out of this code pen. And so we want to get back window inner height and inner width. And we're going to pass those back too. And we will do that inside of our resized function. So on our resize function, this is what we have. We're going to do, this is the function we're going to call on our .NET side. Instead of passing back just whether or not the media query passed, we will pass back an object instead. And that object will be the height, and we will grab window. Do I have it on my clipboard? I do. Window.innerHeight. The width, window inner width. Inner width, there we go. Browser size. Sorry, I'm cracking myself up here. I don't know if anybody else thinks that's funny, but I was watching this show called what's it called? The American Horror Story, and they've just started an 80s themed episode or season. So maybe that's where my head is at, just for context. Maybe it's a little funnier to me today than it should be. Dad jokes. Yeah, bite me. That is so funny because I know there's a delay. There's a delay in the stream. So I said that and I saw your chat afterwards. So you posted that before I said it. So we were thinking the same thing. That's hilarious. I love it. So this is basically what I'm doing here. This is a JavaScript object, JSON notation here. So I'm just saying, give me an object with the height, width, and media query matched values, and then we should be able to get that back. And it should be this easy. And those, again, famous last words. This is all we should have to do. So we're going to invoke that, and instead of getting back the value task of true or false, and this action needs to change too, so everything's going to kind of have a everything here is kind of going to bleed through. So we want the window size object, browser window size. That is what we're going to get on our callback. So that all bleeds through. Right. So now we're going to set up an action of browser window size. We are going to call this task of that type. We'll invoke it. We'll expect a browser window size back from JavaScript. And, oop, missed one. This is no longer a bool. We will get that back. And we will pass that into our function. And now, when we call it, let's go over to our app side of things. I need to, Scott, I need to register that domain, buddy. Scott, welcome to the show, man. It's been a little while since we chatted. Scott's a good friend of mine from the Windows Docs team. Glad to have you on the live stream. So Scott has done some of, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but some of the documentation that we were looking at. Blazor.net. I think you're in here somewhere, right? Getting started. No, not in here. It'd be more on the Yep, I recognize it right there. I can see your mug, my friend. So you've been in the Blazor docs doing some work. Yep. Good stuff. We were just talking about the ability to automatically resolve JavaScript files is not a thing anymore. It's maybe something that the docs team needs to look at. Might have to get you connected with Steve or Dan and see what the proper way to do all this is and get it in the docs. But we're going to call a resize listener. We're giving it our JavaScript runtime. This is no longer a Boolean value. So this is going to instead be a browser window size. And then we need a couple things to put out here. We'll actually just create a browser window size thing here. We'll call it browser. Just call it browser for short. We can remove that variable. Then we can just set browser to equal browser window size. So now we're going to pass back a lot more info from our little function here. I'm still passing in a media query because I want to test it. Instead of writing out whether we match or not, I can get rid of that ugly straggling semicolon. Oh, resize or TS, don't come at me with that TypeScript stuff, man. We don't need TypeScript for this. It's only no, TypeScript's fine, but it's like 4 lines of code. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still, I don't want to bring in a whole pipeline of stuff just for that. Window. Oh, I called it browser. Browser dot height. Browser dot width. Browser dot media. Let's put a little semantics around this. Let's say p the browser height is colon. Oh, Chris Tucker, nice reference. I didn't even get that. Like, wasn't what I was attempting to do, but I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. I don't know. I love Chris Tucker though. He was the only redeeming quality of that sad space movie he was in, The Fifth Element. That was a terrible movie. I'm sorry if you like that movie. it was a terrible movie. He was the only good part of that entire movie. The only thing worth remembering from that movie. The browser width is the browser width, and then the matched media query. And we'll copy this out of here too. Boom. There. So now we can explain what we're doing. Super green. Is that something from... It's been like a million years since I've seen that movie. So I don't recall what super green was. 7 bytes of Blazor. Is that like 50 Shades of Gray? But Blazor? Oh, what is this? Object not set to instance of an object. Yeah, because I did not set up this thing. Equals a new. I can't set values on a browser window size. Or maybe no. No, that shouldn't be on me. No. This is happening. Oh, wait, yes, it is. So what is happening here is I don't have a default. So when this initializes, there was no initial value here. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can do this instead. Let's see what this does. Let's see how that helps or hurts us. Great movie. Okay. Everybody has their own opinion. I will accept that. Some people enjoyed it. But you have to still admit Chris Tucker was the best part of that movie. That must be the sequel, Genescu. Uh-oh. This isn't good. That is not good. Oh, and I just caused a billion errors by messing around with the window size. Let's refresh this this here. And where did my debugger go? Okay, now I've got one error. Uh-oh. JSON could not be converted. Is this the new JSON serializer giving me trouble? Ready? Let's try something. Oh no, I can't do that. Dang. The JSON serializer seems to be choking on what we're sending back. Why, I don't know. This should be a JSON object. Does it prefer like lowercase on these? Is it something silly? Let's see if it's something silly first. My understanding is this should work. Do I have to set serializer options? I don't know. I'm not sure. It doesn't like it though. It does not like that initial value. Maybe. Interesting. Let's do this first. Let me knock this out. Oh, I know what it is. No, that's not it either. Resize is going to call It's going to call, oh, I know what, I think I do know what it is. Let's go back. I may have to change the implementation of this, but when I invoke the resize listener itself, it does not return the object. So watch resize does not return a browser window size. Watch resize turns on the fact that it has a watch running. My mistake. So let me explain if I didn't get that thought through to everybody. So when I was changing all of my action bool values, the actual call, this get async or public async, this watch resize itself doesn't return a browser window size. It spins up the watcher. So when I spin up the watch on resize, I return true that the watcher is there and created. So now I've just confirmed that I've attached this where's that guy at? Oh, this event handler. So all I'm doing here is returning that window.onresize is set. And it was trying to serialize true into an object of browser window resize because I had it set here on invoke async. So invoke async is looking at watch resize and saying what's the return value, trying to assign it to an object that it frankly just didn't match at all. So that was the issue. So that was good old user error there. So now we should be able to run this and it should work. Let's see what we get. And no output. There we go. So now we do have some values coming out like that. Look at that. So this could be very helpful. Now, I don't know how many times this is being triggered. We might have to put some throttling around it, but for now it looks like it's okay. So it looks like our values are working perfectly fine. Our app is working perfectly fine. Doesn't look like it's lagging or anything. So yeah, nice. Thank you, Goran. What I might want to do next is when I refresh this, the initial value of it doesn't seem to do anything. So I wonder, I might change that back now, that I'll attach this event and then we might return the initial size. So here I can now return a object of actually be exactly the same. We can just copy that here, boom, which means I could probably even roll that into a function in a minute. I could refactor that out. Yes, I could, Windercotta. That is a great idea. Wonder how I would make sense of it, though. What I want to do is I want to compare. Well, let's see. Let's do. I need to hold a state somewhere too, to say. Well, I guess no. The browser will do it for me. Actually, this should be enough, but that's a good idea. This right here, this console log should be enough. Let me just put in here. Oh no, it'd have to be in here. I'd have to do it on my resize function. So we will invoke that method here. We'll call that Trying to think how I want to do this. I need a console log in this here. So I wouldn't want to do it on that. I don't want to do it. This would have to be taken out of this one line thing here. Be worth it though, just to see. Equals. Wait, that's going to be the wrong syntax. This will be function like this. That'll work. So that would be the first function it runs. Then it would also do console. Why am I getting that? Console.log. Resized like that. Counter to parsing error. Got too many curly braces probably, or not enough. No. That's that. Invoke async. Ah, yeah, there we go. That goes there. This goes like that. Right? Did I do that right? Oh yeah, I guess I probably could have done that too, DevMan. I think maybe that breaks in .NET but not JavaScript. So let's try that. Oh, I just broke it. I need to change my app too. So now I'm going to get back an initial size. Maybe I'm trying to think if this is the way I should be doing this though. No, I don't want to do it this way. I don't. I think I just had a better idea. So instead of doing that, I'm going to turn this back to true. And instead, so I'll do this. And we will invoke this one more time. So let's invoke that method immediately. Let's just call it, right? There we go. How about that? We'll just call it. So we'll call resized, which will populate that info out of the gate. So let's run this. That's much smarter, I think. So what I'm trying to do is stop it from being no value at all when it loads. There we go. Boom. Instantly get values back. Let's go into the console and console. Holy shnikes. That's not good. Wow, that is really not good. I just created an infinite loop. All right, that was a great live stream. It was the last and final live stream I'll ever do. Thanks for watching. No, seriously. What did I just do to myself? It's because of this. Because I'm triggering it here, it's causing it to keep running. Let's take that out, double check. Good Lord. That was not good. Oh man. I don't know why the performance of my app is bad, everybody. So that is removed. Console. All right, that was definitely the problem, I think. Console again. So we resized once because I used the restore and maximize feature. Let's do a quick, let's grab the corner and go zip. Zip. So it's hitting it about 10 times per second. So there is a pretty hefty report rate there. Yeah. I'm glad that who suggested this? Who suggested we log it? I just want to say thank you. That was a good idea. Because if I wouldn't have tried to log it, I wouldn't have seen that it triggered like 9 billion times. So yeah, thank you. So let's see. So it does trigger like about 10 times per second. It doesn't seem to really cause a lot of performance issues though. So still not really concerned with that yet. What I would like to do though is figure out why when I ran resized, which is here, which is this function that does this, but why is resized causing another resize? So I'm calling watch on resize. I'm essentially wanting to return, I mean, I could do this and return it back. I just wanted to call this .NET helper one time. Like, this is all I want to do. I want to call that and not have it repeat like a billion times. That's all I was trying to do. That's what functions are for, so we can reuse them. Yeah, it's a good point, Wintercotta. So there's the one time. Let's see if it's still doing the whole running a bit. No, see, it's working fine now. Why was it doing that bonkers nonsense earlier? So if I call it directly like this, it's fine. It's because resized is bound to onresize. It's trying to resize the window too or something. What is it doing? Ah, DevMan with a solution here. DevMan says it triggers a lot of events. Put a set timeout around the invoke with a 100 milliseconds. Cancel the timeout on a new resize event. Ah, I don't know exactly what the code would look like for that, but I get what you're saying. So set timeout around the invoke. So it can only invoke a couple times per second. Yeah, set timeout. Okay, we'll look at that in 1 second. So I don't understand still, like if I declare a function called resized, that does exactly what is here, then why did it trigger like a billion of them when I called it like that? Maybe I called it after this before. Let's see, resized like that. Why is that causing recursion? I'm calling this, but this function doesn't call this or has anything to do with this. Am I confused why it's doing that? Let's see. Let's watch our page. Console back up. It's taking a little while to load. Suspense is killing me. Come on. Give me that Blazor app. And it runs forever. Why does it do that? What am I missing, guys? Calling that method doesn't invoke another resize method. .NET method invoke async gives me back that in the media query. Oh wait, No, matchmedia query doesn't have, nothing inside of this calls this. So how is calling this looping? How is that happening? I'm confused. JavaScript has broken me again. All right. So let's see. So I don't understand doing this exact same thing here. Oh wait, maybe. Hang on. Let me look at something. I'm just gonna pull up the browser, inspect. Is there? I think I might know what this is. I think I know exactly what this is. Let's pull up a console. Window dot resized. Is there something already? No, there's not something already. We can resize by. That's let's see. Thanks, Devman. I will look at that in just a minute. See if we can get that suggestion about setting a timeout around around that. So maybe I'm thinking maybe there's something else in scope that's called resized that we're triggering. Maybe I should change the name of this. I'm going to call this handle resized, just to make sure there's not like some weird namespace we're overwriting or something. And then if we call handle resized here, so this is calling it, this is setting it to this. This has nothing to do, they shouldn't have nothing to do with each other. I heard an alert go. Thanks for the follower, new follow. You good friend. I can't pronounce your name. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's see. It is matched. The console is still going bananas. Why is... Oh my gosh. So it had nothing to do with the method name itself, which I don't get, because if we call our function that is within this here, it doesn't do it. That works fine. Functionally, those two things are the same, though. So why is that? Why is that a thing? See, nothing is happening now. Nothing at all. So I wanted to get the initial window size. I got it, but I've got redundant code now because JavaScript is being JavaScript. Or my understanding of JavaScript is not what it should be. Hey, ancient coder. I am just trying to figure out, wrap my head around what exactly this thing is doing. So I'm completely unable to reuse this within this function because it then creates some kind of infinite loop. What if... I might be able to put this in another, maybe because the function is called here or defined here. That doesn't make sense either. Yeah. Stepman timer.cancel needs to be clear timeout timer. We'll get to that in just a second. I'm trying to figure out something with this handle resize again. I really am baffled over this one. So, I'm not touching that, Goran. Not touching that on the stream. Let's see. Just calling this function makes it loop for some reason, but I'm able to call it from on window resize with no issue. Very strange. Calling raise on resized doesn't re-trigger watch on resized. So I could understand if that was a problem. But essentially this should only get called once. Let's double check this real quick. Console.log watch started. Let's see if this ever gets called a second time. I would hope it only gets called once. This is not Blazport yet, so this will eventually be put into Blazport, but we are doing some JavaScript interop to do some fancy. Oh, see, that's the problem. Ooh, that's not good. Oh, look at the performance just come to a screeching halt there. Yikes. Let's get this closed before it blows up. All right. So something is calling watched on resize infinitely. Is it this on after render async? Ah, I bet that's it. Anybody aware of... Okay, I know what it is now. It is the task on after render. I'm calling it, then inside of it, I'm calling state has changed, which is calling this eventually. So I need to tell it to do this on first render. This was something I was trying to figure out earlier. I haven't found any documentation around this, so I'm not sure how to use it. So first render is true. Does that stop it? Does that stop the loop? This is something I need to figure out. So the first render thing is a flag, but I haven't seen any documentation on how to use it. Scott, if you're still listening, this isn't your fault at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just, hopefully you're taking notes. ASP.NET Core docs issues. So here's where it gets explained that, yeah, this has been added. These changed to this, but it doesn't tell me how to use it anywhere. Let's see. I kicked off the app. Let's see if it ran to infinity again. Inspect. Console. Yeah, that didn't do it. So setting it to true didn't stop it. Or is this something we're supposed to consume? That's what it is. That's what it is. It's not something for us to set, but it is something for us to make decisions upon. I bet that does it. So now it will only trigger that once. Oh, DevMan. DevMan, I didn't see you guys had already put that in the chat. So there's my value. Ah, nice. Peace and quiet. So now I can come back. All right. So we learned something today. We learned how to create infinite loops. So we're going to call it once. That will get us our initial value. Let's do this here. Boom. So we're going to report the initial browser the browser's initial values. And we'll set the event handler here. I need to check into some best practices on that too. Make sure that we're not overwriting somebody else's onresize logic in there. I think we got this. So now we got a pretty handy utility that we can use. We have two things we can make runtime decisions by. Come on, let's compile already. Got a little compiler lag here. I'm gonna hit stop. Something's hung up. Let's do Control F5. We'll skip the debugging. Boom. All right. So we'll refresh that, and we get our watches started. We got our first resize. That build I kicked off 10 minutes ago finally kicked in. Now I've got two of these going. So there we go. So now we've got this information we can take and use in our app. So this will circle back to Blazor here pretty soon. So what we can do is, now that we have the browser height, or the browser, hey, missing a T there, and the width, and the fact that it matches a media query, we can resize elements. Let's here. I've got an example. I have a real world example that I can show you of why this is important. Let's go to fetch data. Okay. I have this weather forecast. This is not mobile friendly. If I do this, it still fits, but let's pretend it doesn't. Let's pretend there's 5 more columns or something like that. Let's do something else with this. So let's go to fetch data. Let's use our thing here that we created. So on fetch data, we will then implement our function that gets our media listener going. We need to create a new one of those. Let's do a little tab bankruptcy while we're at it. Close all but this. Let's look at index again. So I need to inject a runtime and set up the using statement at the top. So now we have our runtime and our listener. We've got a question here. Do you think that all the companies around the world are planning to release new web apps based on .NET Core, will use Blazor soon, or instead either React or another? So the official stance from Microsoft is that next week, the 23rd of next week, should be the release, or is it 23rd? I think it's 23rd, is the .NET Core 3.0 release. That should happen during the .NET Conf. This marks the first time that developers have support for server-side Blazor. So to try to be a little more accurate with your answer or for your question, will people release new web apps? There'll probably be some lag time between, yes, we're able to develop with support for server-side Blazor versus this project takes 6 months to build. So I think over the next year, we will see people migrating to Blazor. I think people will also still continue to use React and Angular and even Vue for their .NET apps, just because people like choice, and choice is good. So I think we'll see these apps start ramping up after next week. So we've got our Resize listener here. Excellent question, by the way. Thank you for asking. A good perspective on things. Mr. Peter Morris, thanks for joining the chat room. I saw a C# contract recently where they wanted Telerik experience. I had to say I don't have experience of that, but I was tempted to say, but I do know Ed. I'll just ask him if I get stuck. That is an angle you could have played. I don't know how that would turn out for you, but what you should probably do is download, quote, a 30-day free trial of the Telerik UI for everything, the DevCraft subscription. Play with all of the demos, and then say that you at least have an introduction to them. They're actually pretty easy to get ramped up on. So it would depend, I think, on what Telerik experience they're asking for. My gut feeling, I don't know anything about what you're talking about precisely, but usually when I hear the words Telerik experience wanted, that generally refers to web forms. So if you're wanting to work with web forms and ASP.NET Ajax stuff, then that would be a job to pursue. There's nothing wrong with web forms. By the way, that is not what I was implying. So if that is what you implied, you are not correct. Web forms is still great. It's people that love working with it, and I don't blame them. It's very productive, just like Blazor seems to be extremely productive these days. Let's see, I need an instance of my listener here. So I need to create one of those. So we will continue with our real world example here. We're going to create a listener. Browser. I don't need to, yeah, I do want that. So the browser window size equals, or no, is a browser. So now I've got those things in place. So what I can do now, and this is, in my opinion, pretty cool stuff. Let's take a little more of an intelligent approach here and say we have a grid control. So we'll move this out. Let's go into shared and, or no, let's put it in pages. Let's put it in pages, add a new item, and we will create a Razor component, and we'll call this Razor component weather grid. So we're going to have a weather grid. This will make the explanation of what we're doing a little bit easier to understand. Whoops, that doesn't go in code. What are you doing? We'll put that here. We will then take our initialize function. Let's grab our weather forecast as well. Let's put that in our weather grid. So we have abstracted this away into another file so we can make a component and make things easier to understand. We'll pull that injected service out, put it in our weather grid. Boop, boop, boom. This is our weather grid now. Weather grid goes here. Okay. So weather grid is autonomous. It's got its own logic to do its weathery grid goodness. So this will do exactly the same thing that our weather grid did already. I don't want the weather. This is just a sample, Goran. We don't need to get too involved with where that weather grid goes. I just wanted it out of my markup. So it is out of our markup now. I should have done a Control F5. So far, our browser listener or window resize listener doesn't do anything at all. So, finally loaded up here. And we should have that same forecast page. And it is. So moving our component out didn't do anything to this. We'll resize the page. Our listener is there, but it's not doing anything for us yet. So now we can show why I created this. Okay. So our weather grid here, it creates an HTML table from our weather forecasts. Let's create a new component. Let's add new item. Let's call this a weather mobile list. So this is our mobile weather list, and we will grab the code from it. Yes, I'm repeating some logic. Don't be angry with me. We'll clean it up. I still want to inject this thing. I still want to get the data. Yes, that could be in its own service or whatnot. Don't care. I just want this piece for now. So we're going to say if forecasts is not null. This is how the grid goes, right? Yeah, or is it equal to null? If it's equal to null, had that reversed, then we'll say it's loading. And if it has data, then we can, let's see, how would I like to display the weather data here? Let's go to Bootstrap. Let's grab some fun examples from there. Bootstrap. Let's do a card with a list group. So we will display a list group, and inside of this list group, we'll say for each tab, item, weather, it's a forecast in forecasts. So for each of these, we can then say at forecast dot, oops, that was with an S, forecast. Oh, really? Forgot the loop in the proper place. Forecast date. We will then, let's do this. Put that here. Let's put this in a span. Wrap that around. Put the date. And the summary. And the temperature in Celsius. And the temperature in Fahrenheit. This is probably not very pretty yet. We can look at how that renders in a moment. Whether mobile, at least we have it. So on our fetch data page now, fetch data, let's go ahead and add that, weather, mobile list. We'll add that and then we'll make it pretty. I'm going to control F5. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Debugging seems to slow things down on the stream. And thanks for the follow, by the way. So now fetch data looks like this. 9, whatever, freezing. That's a little jumbled together, so it's kind of hard to read. So we need a little more explanation of what this is. The spacing didn't look too bad. So we will put in here temperature C. I don't know the escape code for the proper things. Let's just put a hyphen in here. Just make this as simple as I can. Date to short date string, like that. Do a little formatting, make this nice. Now we can refresh that. Actually need to rebuild, don't I? Nope, there it goes. Oh, I can't put dashes because they look like double negatives. That's weird. It's totally weird. Let's go back to Bootstrap. Let's see what little tools and utilities we have that we could use for this. That might help. Badge pill. Boom. Let's try that. Let's try putting them in pills. Pills, pills, pills. Okay, that sounds terrible. I shouldn't repeat that over and over. This is forecast in C. Like that. Duplicate. Forecast in F. Goes here. I don't know which ones will be instantiated and when. Ancient Coder, this is just an example of what's possible. We will refactor as needed. I think you're on the right track. What we could probably do is combine these in a single control and maybe alleviate that through a single component. We're kind of proof of concepting at the moment. Let's control F5. Probably could have refreshed that one, but hey. There we go. That's pretty cool. I could take that dash out. Let's do that real quick. And then let's remove that dash. Save. Build. CNF in the Windows Plus menu gives you access to the symbols. Windows Plus? I don't... a Windows Plus menu? I don't know exactly McNerdius what that means. But here, we've got this. So this is a very compact version of our Windows plus period. Okay, let's see. Maybe we need to do it in the context of Visual Studio. Find an emoji? That is weird. I didn't know about this. You got me playing with something now. Degrees. Oh, crud. No. Hopefully the stream didn't get cut when I did that. I accidentally hit the lock button. L is very close to the keyboard. So Windows Win plus L is not good. I'm going to stop messing around with this. This looks good enough. Back to the example, folks. So what I can do now is I can say if double tab window or browser dot. I can look for a media query, which would probably be ideal. I could say media query matched, then give me this, or else give me this, like that. So now I can run my component and I will only get one. Whether I'm initializing both or not is something I have not explored yet, but something blew up already. Oh, I know what it is. So this part has not initialized yet. So I need to, if browser is null. I hate these null checks. Loading. If the browser is loading, else do things. All right, so we just need to check first to make sure we have a value there. Once we do, then we'll display the thing we want to display. I have lost my chat room. Chat room, don't worry, I am coming. I lost your screen. If you have said anything in the last 30 seconds, I have not seen it. So I just completely lost my chat for a sec. Oh wait, nope, there it is. There you guys are. I just moved it off to the other side of the screen here. There you guys are. Ancient Coder is playing with, or no, Janescu's playing with symbols. Yeah, Windows L is a bad thing. And my app is still, no, that was the broken one. There it goes. Oh, and I have my logic reversed, I think. So if the media query is matched, I have a grid. There we go. Let's save that. Let's refresh this. And now we have our data grid. And if I resize, oh, look at that. That and, oh, yep, yep, there it is. So there's something that we could do. What do you guys think of that? See where it could be useful, maybe. This would be really nice if we could detect it on the server somehow. So we would only render that thing that we need. So boom, we get the compact view there. We could do all sorts of really cool things with this. Magical. I don't think I have a magic emoji. Let's see what we've got here. Let's celebrate. I don't know. I don't have a good emoji for this one, guys. It is, ready? Here we go. Let's get this right. It is Blazor size. Blazor size. Yeah. Brought to you by Blazor ASP.NET Core 3.0. Blazor size. From the makers of 6-Minute Abs. It is Blazor size. Cool thing that we can do. Very cool. I like it. So let's put this in even more context here. What we can say is, I want another Visual Studio up here. I will preface by saying I don't know if this project works at the moment. I haven't loaded it since the RC release came out. So I'm going to try to load Blazport, because we were talking about Blazport earlier. Blazport. So in Blazport, I have an issue. I have several responsive web issues. Several responsive web issues that make me sad. Very, very sad. Nice emojis, Ancient Coder. Blazport. Yes. Blaze Resize port. So I have some issues. Will I add to GitHub? Yes, I need to get Blazor size added to GitHub. Very much so. That will be on my priority list. So here's my issue. Okay. I can launch my next adventure, new trip, and I get this nice flyout effect. The problem is that my menu is set to 50% of the screen. It does a nice job calculating that. However, 50% is kind of an arbitrary value, because 50% of this nice big screen gives me an editor that I enjoy over here. Takes up half my screen. 50% of a mobile device, not so much. Let's say, I said percentage is an arbitrary number. It's really a relative number, thinking about it a little more. Let's give our inspection tool a little attention. And we will change this to a mobile output, an iPhone X to be precise. Let's give it a refresh. And you can see how ugly this all looks right now. Even my button's kind of funky. Some of this can be fixed through a, what do you call it? Media query. So some of it is easy to fix. For example, this text in the button, those can be adjusted through CSS media query. The panel, however, the value is set on the component at runtime. It is not set through CSS. The only way I can change the size of it is through code. If I can only change the size of it through code, then I have to have some way of explaining to the code how large the browser is in order to adjust. I don't have that until now. So now I can take the Blazor size functionality, and when I resize it, instead of replacing a grid completely like this, instead of doing this, I can say set the width of the flyout panel to 100%. So now my flyout panel will go all the way across here, and I don't know if I can, I think I can override it in here. Yeah, see, it ends up being this, it's an inline style because the animations need the value set at runtime. So now I could say, give it to me at 100%, and this would be how it actually looks when it loads. So this is a much more pleasant experience than if I used media queries alone. So that was my reasoning. This could be adjusted too. That's my reasoning for this, is I need to adjust things inside of my UI at runtime. So now I have a way of doing it. What's the gap on the right? Great question, Ancient Coder. I covered this with Blazor when I built it, but I am happy to show that again. So the way this works, let's back up a step and find my flyout panel. Here it is. There's my flyout panel, and here's the initial width of the flyout panel. So the flyout panel, if we take a look at the source code for it, is a custom component called flyout panel that uses the Telleric animation container. The Telleric animation container works as works in this way. Let's get the Blazor app back up. I don't have it running. We need to rerun it. So I'll run the Blazor app. The animation container, we'll let that fly out. The animation container, it works by drawing an imaginary box, an invisible box. Let's get this back around the screen here. And that container is, let's give it a style. We will call the style, we'll say outline, colon, thick, black. I need a width here, don't I? 1 pixel. Outline, solid. There we go. That did it. So here is the actual outline of that panel. And notice where it drew that line. Boom. See that line right there? As soon as that window starts sliding in, it draws a box. And it animates within that box. Like that. Anything that overflows that box will be cut off. So if I, again, inspect, and I take my flyout panel, the width here is being calculated. So if I take my width and I, instead of calculating it, let it go to 100%, actually looks kind of fine right there because I still have that imaginary line being drawn around it. If I go back up and take off that solid line, now it's cutting off. I don't have a shadow anymore. So there's no more shadow. So now I don't have my drop shadow. So if you look at the original, I have a drop shadow that's here. If I don't offset the edge by a small amount, then I have no drop shadow because it gets clipped by the outside of the panel, the rendering panel. If I'm on mobile, I do not need the shadow. That is very much correct. So what I would do here, in this case, is a combination of things. So my code I would listen to the resize, and when I resize the browser, I would set this value, this width, to 100%. I would at the same time have a CSS media query attached to this selector that would override the width. So those two things in combination would then give me 100%, and they would also cut that drop shadow off and let the panel expand fully, removing that little 20% gap. So does that make you happy? Does that kind of clean up the problem? And I know I'm like OCD like that too. It's like, oh, that's got to go. It's got to be pixel perfect. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Yeah. So I feel your pain. I'm in total agreement. And the combination, CSS and media queries, and using that little bit of runtime logic can be combined. So these two things are not mutually exclusive. Using the resizer utility that I just created and media queries can be used in conjunction with each other. And in fact, we can listen for that same media query. So the media query that I would use to hide the drop shadow or change the width of the that width calculation, I would be listening to that media query and using that to change the runtime values I need to change. So, R. Dallas, welcome to the show. Good old Steve Smith. Steve, were you coming in from a stream? Or were you just showing up to... Oh, there we are, raid of 10. I didn't hear the raid alert go off. I don't know why my raid alert didn't play. But thanks for the raid, I appreciate that. So we've got 10 folks coming in from R. Dallas's channel. 2 hours on open source stuff with a quick refactoring kata. That sounds awesome. I love refactoring katas, by the way. I will have to check that show out on the replay. So I've got a code kata for functional programming that uses C#. So that was a fun one. So I love doing those type of things. What was the idea of the refactoring kata? Was it to teach like unit testing or just refactoring in general? Was there a specific goal of that kata? And feel free to share a link to the resource in the chat here. If you didn't already, the bot may have tried to squish it. I saw the bot kicked a URL out. Slurry dev for some reason. Okay. Gotcha. Cool. So it's from Martin Fowler's book. Good stuff, man. Yeah, those are always fun. They're very very helpful because you're working in a... there we go. Thanks for the link. Theatrical Players Refactoring kata. I'm just gonna pull it up really quick and look just to see what it looks like. This stuff is really interesting, I think, because it puts things in a context where you're not like in a project. Oh, it looks like it's got different languages too. That's really nice. So you don't have to worry about like this big application. It's just got the things that you're trying to focus on. So it's a very focused way of coding and learning. It gives you a chance to experiment with different ideas and learn some good patterns and practices. So good stuff. I'll have to check this out later. Nice though. It looks like we're doing some calculating some credits for attendees and whatnot, so that's always good, especially if you're working with maths to have your stuff in order. Takes two types of statement printers, and then you make it support an HTML output. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, there's your refactoring of it. So I'll kind of scan through that one real quick. So you've got, okay, so we've got some interfaces that came out of it, stuff like that. Text formatter. So there's two ways. I gotcha. So there's a text formatter and an HTML formatter. So we learn about some dependency injection, stuff like that. I need the Octotree plugin for GitHub. Maybe I do. What is that? Octotree. 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 Chrome plugin. What is that? That's not a name, I hope. Oh, cool. GitHub code on steroids. Sure, we'll add that to Chrome. Give it keys of the kingdom. Why not? So all I have to do is go back to this. Oh, look at that. Very nice. That's a cool plugin. Very cool. Thank you, sir. I like it. I'll have to make it wider too. Yeah, I'll have to learn about this a little bit more. So do you if you pin it? No. How do you widen it? Is it a setting? Hotkeys, open sidebar, load tree at once. Looks like those are all set. Oh, grab. Ah, very nice. Very, very cool. Right? So that was Octotree. Octotree. Just Google that, install it. Nice stuff. So, Steve, thanks for the ad right there, man. I like that. That's for the value add, as we say. The corporate world. I don't know why I said that. That was silly. Yeah, I've got some of those things as well. There's tools that I absolutely love. One of the things is my my console. Like if I want to talk about things that I really enjoy using, my Con EMU is one of my favorites. I still haven't used the new console for the Windows platform. I love this one. It does everything I need, and I get my handy little GitHub source repos. Oh my gosh, I have too many. If I go into my Blazor project, I have my my GitHub. What is this thing called? PoshGit installed here. All these things. So yeah, this is one I promote very often. Love my console and my my theme. I'm working on a theme. I need to get it fully functional, but this theme is going to be available if I go into my colors. This theme is, I hit the wrong one, environment. Yeah, I've got a theme that's going to be installable. You can just add it to your drop downs and you get my theme here. The problem is right now, if you do file new project, this box is all white, and trying to fix that is not an easy task. So I'm holding off on publishing it to the Windows Store Goran says, let's do an octotree component in Blazor. Goran, you go ahead and do that. The one that works out of the box is the one I'm going to use. If it isn't broke, don't fix it, my friend. No, if you want to do that as a fun project, then by all means, go do that. But I'm just teasing you. Yeah, I'm trying to get my theme up there, so that's a fun one. And then I've got my Blazor snippets that I'm working on as well, which I want to talk about next. I'm going to spend like 15 minutes maybe. Oh, sorry, I didn't see the slurry dev. Can someone please post the link from Streamlabs, about 2 lines about the video that plays on blazorsomething.com. Oh, that is my, sorry, replays. I need to upload a bunch of them. I'll try to do that this weekend. blazorvideos.com, slurrydev is what you're talking about. That is my YouTube channel. You're very welcome. That is my YouTube channel with my replays, which I've got about a dozen, half dozen to a dozen that need to be uploaded there. I've been caching them. It takes a little bit of effort to get those posted, and I just have been out of time preparing for all of the Blazory things that are happening next week. I'll try to get that soon, I promise. So I want to pull up, so I'm going to keep the Blazor size. Love that too much. We'll take Blazeport, put that on the back burner. This Blazor Resize listener thing, which I'm going to come up with a name for this thing. I also need to commit it to GitHub somewhere. But before I do that, I want to look at the JS interop stuff. Somebody suggested that I add a JavaScript interop. What do you call it? Snippet for my snippet pack. And I'm trying to think, like, I've been doing some JS interop stuff now. What exactly would that snippet do? So what am I using with a JS interop that would be snippet worthy? So Slurry Dev has quite an elaborate statement there that boils down to, there is a very good lamb cooking in a slow cooker and you must go eat it. So Slurry Dev, it sounds like you are passionate about food like I am. Go enjoy that and have a great weekend. I wish I could join you. It sounds wonderful. R. Dallas as well. Take care. Thanks for the raid again. So we're just going to look at snippets real quick, and then I'm going to call it a weekend as well. I'm trying to see what the possibility for a snippet would be. We have a value task that may be snippet worthy. I'm not quite sure. I don't know what we could take out of here as a pattern, really. So I'm not quite certain I know what I would do with a snippet. It's a good suggestion. I'm just not sure what. Maybe invoke async, but I'm not 100% sold that I know the right way to do this. This may be something that is better served by a template than a snippet tool. So I can come up with a few examples of what the snippet tool does, and then we can talk about how that might apply to the what do you call it? The interop stuff. So if I were to make a new component, I'll do add new item, component. I'll just leave it component. I'm going to delete it. If I have this, I've got some snippets that I can use to make this coding more efficient. For one, if I have a code block, I don't always remember how everything in there goes. So I can say b code, hit tab, and I get a parameter. So I have something like this, and then I'm stubbed with an on initialize async, so I can do some initialize here and just keep on working. Right, so that works really good. I've got snippets for form stuff, so help. So here's all the things I can do. I've got forms. Most of these are form related: input, select, dates, areas, values. So there's that. So I could say b form, and this gives me a form stubbed out. I can say b input, and I have an input, and b select, and I have a select box. All those things, very helpful. But I'm not sure what an interop helper would look like. Don't know exactly. So I do have things like a para tab gives me a parameter, para c gives me a cascading parameter, para cc gives me a render fragment. I could do like a JS invocable helper. Not sure if it would be ideal or not, but I could do JS invocable, but really that method is going to be anything here. So I don't know what all to stub out with that. We could do a value task. But again, I don't know what all that's going to give you out of the box that'll get you up and running. So for all intents and purposes, we could probably take this. Let's just do a little exploratory thing here. Let's save this. Let's do file, new, file. And I have a tool here, snippet, open. We could create a new snippet. This is how snippets get made. They come from the snippet stork. So we could come in here and say, like, this is our type. Sorry, this is probably tremendously hard to read. Let me zoom in. There we go. So let's see, we got a little side conversation here. Mr. Peter Morse, have you tried doing React? No. React uses render fragment approach too. Okay, I don't think this pertains to what I'm working on, so we'll keep on moving. So what you do is you create some reusable code that you're typing out all the time, and then you could put in replacements here. So this would be our type, and then you'd have your method name, make replacement there. We probably wouldn't have any parameters on by default, and then we would do this. This would be our make replacement here. It won't let me do that. This will be JS method, like that. Make replacement again. And this would be JS namespace dot JS method name, like that. And then this would be args, like so. Let's make that replacement there. And then we'd have, if we're doing a snippet with a callback, it would be something like this. So we could make arbitrary suggestions like this. That doesn't need to be watch resize. Let's see. Defaults to my method like that. And then we could, I may have too many of these in here, but again, I'm just trying to think out loud, like what would someone like to see? I don't know if this would even be possible to completely flesh out. Don't know if this would be any help or not. It might confuse people even more. Some callback method like that, and then we'd give the snippet this is going to appear under C# language, and then it needs a shortcut. So this would be JS interop, or just interop. I'll say interop C because it has a callback. How about that? Feedback would be awesome on this idea, if you guys have any. Cannot be completed, save. I'm going to put this in my code snippets. So I just created a code snippet for this. So we could go into our, oh man, that got huge. Let's bring that back to 100%. Let's put this down. So where I have this value task, we essentially have an ability to create these with a snippet now. And we should be able to say something like interop C. So I get an interop with a callback. So now I have my value task, which it defaults to bool, but I have a type here that I can input and call my method some name. And then I put in my JavaScript namespace here, and then some arguments. Maybe it's a bool value like that, or actually be like true, wouldn't it? Yeah, I could say true, and then I have a callback method I would name, and then I would code out my callback method. Does anybody write JavaScript interrupt stuff enough to care about something like that? Anybody? Chat room? I am all ears. Like this is how a snippet gets created anyhow, in case you were interested. What's pretty neat about the snippet tool is that when I did this, when I tabbed through everything, let's back up a little bit. If we do the interop C again, and I hit tab, notice when I'm tabbing through and I hit enter, my cursor is here. What I'd really like to do is put my cursor here inside of the callback method, right? So the I just opened the wrong Visual Studio, which is appearing somewhere off screen. All right, finally opened, so I can close that. Let's bring my snippet editor back up. So I'm going to right click on some callback method, goes here, and say, give me the end marker. Let's move it over, and I'll save that. Go back to my object here, and you'll notice when I do the interop C tab, and now when I hit enter, I am here inside the method. So snippets can be fine-tuned. So I don't know if that's a helpful snippet or not. What I will do is I'll copy this snippet, and I will put it on GitHub inside of an issue. And if you guys like that, maybe we'll do a little vote on it or leave it open for some comments. GitHub. And if everybody seems to like it, we'll add it. And I'm sure somebody will find some kind of tweaks that we could do to make it better. Let's see if that does it. Let's close or add that comment. So this is the suggested snippet. So we've got a value task and a callback. And that is the basic stubbing to get one done. They don't know where to invoke the callback method. You'll need a JS sample too. Yeah, well, if I do a JS sample, I would have to, you can't do them all one snippet because you're essentially inlining this into code. So if I did a callback or a code snippet for that, it would have to be like this. We would have to create another snippet, and you would have to know to go into JavaScript and create the JavaScript file. So I'm not sure how we would accomplish that. We could add a comment here that has JavaScript code in it, but I don't know, that feels kind of hacky. We could add another snippet that you would then what we could do is put here, I think I like this idea. Let's do new file. I like the collaborative stuff from the chat room though. Thank you for helping me here. So in this snippet, I have to zoom in. I don't know why the zoom levels are all wacky with this part, but bear with me. So I have my value task and I invoke from here. My snippet would have to match here. Let's pull these side by side. So I would have my JS namespace would be that. This would be my JS method name. I think that's what I called. Yeah. So if I look down here, this is my suggested, my default value. So when you type this snippet out, it says in these the string here, it's the well, I copied the whole thing. It is the value. Crud. Let's go over. Nope, that doesn't work either. I'll explain it in a minute. So that is the suggested method name. Then we need a function of a .NET helper, which I don't know if I have that necessarily in there. .NET helper, resize listener, .NET object reference. I need that in my snippet too, assuming they want the callback. So that actually needed to be in here like this. So this is actually helping me. Yeah. DevMan, great suggestion. This is actually helping me find some flaws in my logic too. So I need that .NET object reference, which would be then pulled up in here. Let's put this back up to 200. .NET helper is my reference. This would be args. Args. I don't know why it's pirate talk for me. Console.log. Method invoked. We will then say that we'll say JS method invoked here. We can then invoke the .NET method. So I need my listener again. This window resizing thing is annoying. This is a goof from the tool, I think. The tool is kind of old, but it's very helpful, so I'm willing to deal with it. .NET method invoke. .NET helper method invoke async. This will be my callback method, and this will be callback args, like so. And then we can console.log our .NET method, our .NET method invoked. So this just stubs out like how somebody would be able to use this on the other end. Oops, I need to name it before I wire it up. JS interop with a callback. This would be in JavaScript. So this would target my JavaScript language. I can actually use the same snippet in JavaScript now because they have this different names or different targets. I'll save that snippet. So I hope you guys are still following along. And then in this, we can say use the interop C snippet in a JavaScript file to complete the JavaScript method. How about that? Please zoom. I know this is a real pain. I'm sorry. So the zoom level is separate from my code zoom level. So I keep trying to go back and reference my code, and I keep having to re-zoom in and out, and I forgot that last time. Sorry about that. Sorry. I'm starting to sound Canadian. Sorry about that, Canadians. I don't mean to make fun. So here we go. Now we've got matching snippets. This now we can put replacements in. Make replacement. JS namespace, JS method, args, callback method, make replacement, callback args is fine. That I think would do it. So I don't know if this snippet still meets everybody's use cases, but it's an idea. And that's where the feedback will come in. So this is how I would see it working. Let's go back here. We'll resize this again, 100%, and close that window. So we would come in here and we would say interop C tab tab. We have our stuff we tab through. We have to set an arg here. It's just going to be red squiggles, true. Hit enter. Now when I hit enter, it says to complete the job, use the interop C snippet in a JavaScript file to complete the JavaScript method. We'd then go to JavaScript and say interop C tab tab. And we're now stubbed with a namespace, which matches our function, our callback method. And we can hit enter and then we're done. Yeah, I wouldn't want to inline the JavaScript inside of the C# file. But at this, I think this gives us two methods, two interop, two snippets that we can use anyway. This might be an edge case, I don't know. I think I need to spend some more time building apps before this is meaningful to me. So I don't know if this is something I want to add yet. So this would be the accompanying, the matching one. So in my code snippets in C#, I need to copy this one back into GitHub as well and fix the, there we go. I think that will work. Yeah. Suggested snippet with an S, it needs to be. Suggested snippets. Maybe this one needs to also be in the JavaScript one. So there we go. Update that. Also copy that code, put it in the JavaScript callback snippet. Save that. There we go. Ship it. I love it. I love that. Love that attitude. It will not work if I ship it like this, probably, but yeah. So the issue can be found on GitHub. If you like the idea, comment below, or if you have a suggested change, then comment below. This may be a little too focused on the way that I wrote my interop, and it may not reflect the way that other people are writing theirs. So I really would like input before I commit that to any kind of snippet that I ship, because the snippets right now, when you ship them, there's some issues updating the package. So when you update that package, it is going to cause issues down the road. So I'm trying to keep updates to a minimum right now, but there's a bug. I've listed it here in my issues. You can read about it if you want to. V6 installs are a pain. So if there is something that I want to update, it may not be easy for users to update their snippet pack. So I'm going to try to ship updates sparingly until that gets resolved. And I don't want to keep changing things back and forth, especially things that may break. But anyway, I think that was helpful. A couple suggestions from the chat room there helped. So that is on issue number 4. And we have a two-way JS invoke snippet. Genescu, I don't know if you've seen that, but that is a thing. So let's open a component here, and so boom. I need to zoom out to see this in its full glory. So it may be hard to see with these color themes. I put my comments dark for a reason, because I think it helps to keep comments almost turned off, to remind ourselves that comments are probably a bit of a code smell. But we've got a Blazor glove here. We have a Blazor glove snippet, Genescu. So how about that? You thought you were joking. There is one. There is a Power Glove snippet. So have fun with those. Visual Studio Marketplace. You can find the snippets there. Marketplace.visualstudio.com. Blazor Pro snippets. You can get them in your extensions toolbox as well. You don't have to go find them here, but CodeRush has one with an image adding a comment, so it could be cool with it. I don't know how you add an image to a comment, a code comment. An image to a code comment. How would you display an image in Visual Studio? Interesting. Don't know how they do it. But I went old school anyway. We have the Hackerman style. Whoops, that's errors. Nope, that's it. Boom. We have the Blazor glove Hackerman style retro type of snippet in there. So that one's available there. You can also go to let me get my theme back. Hang on a sec. Let's get this back on. Boom. Which the theme I want to put in the marketplace soon as well. You would find these things under Manage Extensions or at that link I provided in the chat room. It is, if you go to search, you'll find it. This is where you would find the theme once it gets published to everyone. But the snippets are in here as well. Just look for the Blazor glove. And the snippets are available today, minus the one that we're talking about doing JavaScript interops with. The theme needs a lot of work yet, but I plan on publishing it pretty soon as well. So that's all I've got for today, guys and gals, and everybody else out there. Yep, it's been a good show though. So appreciate everybody for hanging around. And we didn't have too many terrible issues today. We had that one like runaway infinite loop of JavaScript death, but we figured out that it was the on initialize or on after render flag being not being looked at and inspected. I don't want to save that. I will have to spend some time putting this in to a GitHub repo and getting this available. I will probably do that on the next show. That'd make a good show to abstract this listener out, name it properly, get it on GitHub. I'm not sure if it's something that's ready for NuGet. If we're on NuGet, then I'd feel inclined to have to support it. And I don't know if it is production ready, so I don't want to put it out there. I'm more comfortable with having it on GitHub if people want to take it and use it. And then after I use it myself a little bit more, see if it's something NuGet worthy. But we definitely need to get it out of quote unquote Blazor app 14 and into a proper project and get it out where people can take it and work on it and use it if they want to. So we'll do that next week. After .NET Conf, after the Telerik webinar. I think a lot of you in the chat room, I don't mean to just kind of, what do you call it? I kind of make suggestions about who's in my chat room, who isn't. I don't know who's out there. I'm thinking a lot of you are probably familiar with Blazor already. So this is for newer folks. And if you're newer to Blazor, if you're just hearing about it, or you're anticipating, news about it next week in .NET Conf, and that's all you've heard about it, and you stumbled into my show today. First of all, I appreciate you guys watching. Second of all, we have a webinar coming up for folks that are just learning about Blazor. I'll be giving that webinar live on Thursday, the day after .NET Conf. So if you haven't had enough Blazor talk by the end of .NET Conf, please sign up for the Telerik Blazor webinar, or share it with your newbie friends. Let them know that Blazor is a important thing to learn, and they can learn it from me on the Telerik Blazor webinar on September 26th. So mark your calendars for that one. Share that with your friends. There is .NET Conf again. I talked about this at the top of the show. I'm going to reiterate on this because it's very important. You guys, as attendees, have the opportunity to win prizes and have a lot of fun. So make sure you go up to the top here and click on Win Prizes, .NET Conf. So it's .NET Conf/party. There's a code party. This is being hosted by some really great people and sponsored by lots of companies that want to be part of the .NET community. They have prizes to give away. Telerik is one of them. So full disclosure, we are participating in the treasure hunt. We have some things to win. I don't know if we've announced our prizes. The rules are up here, though. You can click on Rules, learn how to play. There will be clues given throughout the day, and this is all being done on Twitch. So we'll announce prizes, and you guys can play along at home and win stuff. So that is really cool. Make sure you do that. And then, of course, there's local events and things if you want to go watch with friends. You can go in here and find where to attend. There are places everywhere, guys, all over the place. Yeah, there's a lot of places listed here. So go meet up with some people. Enjoy .NET Conf next week. It's all week long, almost Monday through Wednesday. So we'll see you guys there. I'll be in the chat rooms, and I will be presenting on Wednesday at 9:30 Pacific time. So I've got some Razor things to talk about. So make sure you drop by there. Let's see. I think that's it for today. I'm going to call it quits here. Let's find a raid to go, streamer to go raid. We've got 21 people in the chat room. It's a beautiful thing. Let's go share that. with another streamer. We've got, who is live? Calvin Allen is live. He is brand new to streaming. He's a .NET dev. Let me double check, make sure this, nope, it's offline. The rating tool lies to me a lot, so sorry about that. It also says Jeff Fritz is online, and I know he has since stopped streaming. Who is live that we can go check out? Bear with me for one more moment while I go hunt. Of course, Clark is live. Oh, Carrie Payette is online. Carrie Payette is online. Yay! I like Carrie. She is she organizes Stir Trek and or helps with Stir Trek anyway, and she is a .NET dev. We will go raid her. Let's go say hi to Carrie. The raid countdown has begun. We'll hop over there in just 5 seconds, guys. So have a great weekend. Enjoy .NET Conf. I will see you on the other side of it. Next Friday, we'll do this all again.